Hello, hello, and welcome to the Connecting Point. I am Dr. Marcy, your facilitator for this discussion today. This is the place where creators connect to inspire, share their ideas and stories to transform the world through raw and unedited talk. And today I am here with some beautiful Black queens. Yes. And I'm excited to talk to them. I am here with Dr. Nicole LaBeach and Crystal Khalil. Welcome to the Connecting Point.
Thank you, Dr.
Dr.
Marcy.
Marcy.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
We will tell a little more about you in a few moments. But guess what, ladies? I must tell the Connecting Point. That's the name of this platform before we get started. Audience, this is my first time meeting these beautiful ladies. Yes, it is. But they are doing something in our world that is dear to my heart as well, which we're going to talk about. But the Connecting Point connector here is Tops PR Firm. Yes. Yes, Tops PR Firm and Miss Leslie Tops made the connecting point for us. And so of that, we're thankful. Now, ladies, I always let you tell a little bit about who you are, where you are now, and where you're from. So any one of you can go first.
So I am Crystal Khalil, Dr. Marcy, and so glad to be here. Thank you. Thank you for sharing us with your audience. I am originally from Rochester, New York, and have been living in Atlanta, Georgia long enough to consider myself a peach.
You and I both?
Yes, yes. And just a little bit about myself, after spending 30 years in procurement and supply chain, climbing the corporate ladder from first generation college student to opening some doors and breaking through some glass ceilings, I started to ask God, what's next? You know, like, God, I appreciate everything that I've achieved and all the things that you've done with and through me. But I felt called to service people around the world. And so I started asking him what's next. And in 2020, I took the leap, retired from corporate America. And when I took that leap, God caught me and paired me with my amazing sister, Dr. Nicole LaBeach. And we help women unbind and unleash their unlimited potential in business and relationships. And what God showed us when he partnered us was it's about collectivism and illumination, coming together to shine our lights. Because as you know, Dr. Marcy, it's a dark world. And the greatest commodity any of us has is time. And God is like, it's time for us to shine our lights and turn it up, right? There's so many of us walking around with 150 watt light bulbs and we shining at 40. People around you looking at you and they think that you're bright. They can see you've achieved a lot of things, but you know, you know, like you know that your light is not turned all the way up.
We're gonna talk about that. Hold on, put a pin in that. Put a pin. We're gonna talk. I like that. We're gonna talk about that.
I love it. Well, I'm Dr. Nicole LaBeach, and my stomping ground is Brooklyn, New York. That's where I was born to Caribbean parents. And you know, my journey's been an enlightened one. I appreciate the fact that I went to Spelman College as an undergraduate student, then learned a whole lot through St. Louis University and Caribbean parents that were like, you got to have 10 jobs, you got to be entrepreneurial, you got to work. And from that was able to work in corporate America as a leader and be promoted in that leadership space at a huge company called News Corporation that is the owner of all Fox affiliates and Fox Network and all of that good stuff. And then decided at a pivotal point that it was really a crossroad to move into entrepreneurship. Was an entrepreneur for 20 years, I want to say 16 years, something like that, before I met Crystal. And I thought I was experiencing the best part of my entrepreneurial journey. And then I met her and I was like, there's no way that this can get better. Like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it big. I've got the trappings, trimmings, trinkets, all of that stuff. So it's not going to get that much better. Oh, how mistaken I was. This has been fun, funny, enlightening, stretching, transformational, being in partnership with another brilliant woman who sees me and allows herself to be seen so that we could do the work that we do, to show other women how to do what we do together, has been a life-changing experience. Just life-changing.
Well, listening to the both of you, I already know it was a divine connection.
Oh, yeah.
That was made. But I want you to talk a little bit about connecting of women before we even talk more in depth about what you do on a higher level capacity. But let's talk about connecting of women and the importance of that in the business world and outside of the business world.
We came together because a mutual friend of ours, he was a colleague of mine and a Morehouse brother of hers, said, I need you to meet this sister. I believe that you all are like-minded. He had referred her for some business at my company. She was the CEO of Volition Enterprises at the time. I was the head of procurement. So he brought us together, and, in mixed company, we could already say, I like her, right? We had like-minded spirits. So we decided to go to lunch one-on-one, and I show up, as head of procurement for North America. She shows up as CEO of Volition, and we sit down, and within about 5 minutes, Dr. Marcy, those masks fell down, and we were just Crystal and Nicole, and we were laughing, and we were crying and sharing stories and connecting. And about 5 hours later, we were like, what in the world just happened? Because we came on this business agenda, and we have connected in heart and soul. And it was about a year later that I took that leap from corporate America, and she didn't know that I was thinking about retiring. And she reached out to me and said, I want to celebrate you. And you talk about connecting of women, right? She reached out and said, I heard that you took the leap, and I want to celebrate you. And I've been doing this entrepreneurial journey for 16 years now, and I know the ups and the downs. And if you just need somebody to meet with you at Starbucks to work together, she's like, I want to avail myself to you. And then she invited me to her home. Before that, we met in public a couple of times, but she invited me to her home intentionally to allow me to see her as who she is, right? And so I go to her home, and she made this amazing breakfast for me, Dr. Marcy. Homemade from scratch with love. I'm like corn shucked in eggs and pineapple French toast and candied bacon. It was just like, wow. And you could taste the love. And 8 hours later, we were like, you know what? What just happened? This connection between two women, two sisters out here who have achieved a lot of things individually, but realized the power of coming together. We were like, if we could bottle this and sell it, we could change the world. And that's what Sister Diamonds is. We bottled that spirit of collectivism and illumination, and teaching women how to live what we call the yummy life, your ultimate, most meaningful yet.
Say that again. Say that.
Your ultimate, most meaningful yet, your yummy life.
Yes.
When you are free, when you liberate your mind, activate and accelerate by being in community, with other sisters, like-minded sisters that can do for you what you do for everybody else. That's what our whole Sister Diamonds is about, that connectivity of women globally. Those women who are the ones that everybody calls when they need help, but they don't know who to call when they need.
Yes.
That's our community.
That part.
I'm going to say this. I'm proud of both of you, because this right here is huge, and it's so needed in our world today, because I know stepping out on what you are called to do can be scary looking. It can look intimidating. And that is why you can't do it by yourself. If it's a God thing, you can't do it without him, and you certainly cannot do it without other people.
Right.
And the right people is very important to have in your circle. And so you all have made that connection. Can you tell a little more about what this connection means to you in terms of where you're trying to go with Sister Diamond?
Well, it's interesting. We knew that there was a difference between a goal and a vision. We often say when the women that we work with talk about being nervous and their knees shaking a bit at how big the vision is, we say, well, that's how you know it's a vision. Because if it's a goal, you can do it by yourself. You can do it scared, and you can do it by yourself. But if it's a vision, it's going to take other people, and it should scare you because it is too big for one person. And what Crystal and I recognized was the women that we attracted, they were the brightest and the baddest. They were the ones that were taking care of everything for everybody else. They are the crisis manager. They are the family reunion planner. They are the funeral preparer. They are the ones that can help you get your house out of foreclosure. They're the ones that can help you find the right attorney, find the right tax preparer. They are the ones that hold up everything in their family, in their community, in their relationships with their children. So we were like, God, you want us to help them? And he showed us each other, and we were like, oh, he wants us to help each other because we know that life. We know what that looks like when you are used to being in so many people's top 5, but then you hold up your own phone and you're like, now who in here can help me with what God is calling me to? And we were like, but God, that's huge. And he was like, that's the vision. And we were like, we get it. So we started to look around for some of the things that we wanted, that we felt were necessary to nurture us. And when we couldn't find it, we created it. When we couldn't find it, we were like, oh, this is what you're talking about, because we've both been in the corporate space. We've both navigated corporate politics as Black women. We both have shattered ceilings and felt some of the shards of glass from that shatter. We both understand collectivism and working together and building together and doing it for your glory. Oh, we've got a formula. Because when Crystal and I looked at our path, we saw these similar moments where God was saying, pay attention to that, because that's what this population needs support with. We were like, well, yeah, that you supported us in that. He was like, yeah. And pay attention to how you moved from being bound and receiving other people's limiting beliefs. Scared you to the point of self-sabotage or giving people access that didn't want responsibility. Pay attention to how I liberated you from that, because that's a mind shift from where a mind was once set I need you to help these women shift so that they can actively move in the change that I'm asking for their highest and best next. And then I want you to show them how to do it in a way that accelerates them, because I'm the source, but I got resources everywhere. And many of them think there's not enough resource for what I'm asking them to do. And I want you to show them the collectivism, the shining their light together is going to open up a world of resources, because it's not all supposed to be painful and hard.
Right. And I was thinking of a personal situation as you were talking, and I remember wanting to start a music business when I first moved to the city where I am now. And God told me, first of all, to start in the flea market. And I said, that people are going to think I'm crazy, but I did it. And then when that was over, he said, now drive your car down the street. I drove. Now I'm new to this area at this point. I drove, and there's this building, a school building. I stopped my car, went in there, did not know anybody. And there was a woman there. She was the owner of the school. And I told her, I said, I need somewhere to teach because the flea market has closed where I was. You know what she said? Sure. Did we do any transaction with money? No. We bartered our services. And I often think about the bartering of services, where we're not doing that anymore. It's always about, what can you give me in terms of money? But the resource, the living resource,
yes,
that we have within is valuable. It'll generate money, because it is where the value is. It is the gift that God gave. It's the skills. And when you put those together, you help each other out. And that's how she and I operated for years.
wow.
I rendered the services so that her students could have it too. So, we've got to think, in terms of even bartering our services with one another to help each other out.
Well, one of the things that we say all the time is money is not the only currency.
Right.
It's one of many. And if in your mind it's the only currency, you are going to miss so many other currencies that are seeking to bless you. But because you're resistant to it, because it's not money, you're going to miss it. So we absolutely agree and understand that very well.
So, ladies, what are some pointers you can give women? Well, I'm going to say men too, because what works for women works for men. It works for human beings. But what are some pointers you can give in terms of launching out, if you're wanting to go the entrepreneur route, launching out and doing that while also working a 9-to-5? That is a hard thing to do and balance.
I had to do this before I decided to retire, Dr. Marcy. I had a 3-year plan before I decided to retire, and it was focused on, positioning myself and to make the leap, positioning my employer as my sponsor and not my employer. That's a mind shift.
Come on.
Right? That is a mind
Yes,
shift.
it is.
And
yes, it is.
What I realized was when you go into business, we're always looking for sponsors, right? Well, when you are working full-time and trying to build your business, if you position your employer in your mind as your sponsor, it makes it very clear why you're there and what that assignment is about. And you begin to invest in yourself and in your future. So that's the first thing I would tell you to do, is make that mind shift. The second thing is you have to be in community with other people. right? You've got to get outside of that bubble that you're in and start to put yourself in circles of people who are already doing what it is you're trying to do, people who can speak for you when you're not in the room, people who are going to refer you, fill your cup, speak into you, and help you to make that transition and leap. And one of the things my coach said to me when I was ready to make that leap was, the people who you think will, won't, and the people who you think won't, will. So it is so important that you have a connection, and that you boldly reach out and ask for help. You're authentic in what you need, and you're connected to people, and you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to have every resource. It doesn't all have to be clear. But if the calling is clear, you answer the calling. My pastor said just this Sunday, can you stand the rain? Right? If Jesus said, come, but the storms may come, right? The storms are going to come. This we know. But can you stand it? Can you stand the rain when it comes? So if you stay focused on what you were called to do, and trust that this is my calling, the resources, I might not see them, but they're there. And God can open doors, God can open windows, God can pull people in from the ceiling. I just have to show up. I have to show up.
That's right. And you know, it's interesting that you said that, because that is how I go from day to day. You know, I know what I'm called to do. And if I know what I'm called to do, little things or little pestering things, they don't bother you, because you know you have a call and a purpose, and you can lay down at night and say, look, God, I held true to my purpose. And so that is the driving force, your calling and purpose. And, you know, I know that so many people get frustrated, but the number one thing is to find out what that calling and purpose is.
And to realize it's not often singular.
Right.
Oh. He says, I know the plans, plural, I have for you. So, you know, if you believe your negotiated agreement with God is that you have to know the how and the why of everything, you're going to struggle. Because what he's often saying is your focus is the who. The how is not even your business. And the why you'll find out
as you go through the process.
And insight as you go through the process. You have to walk through time to understand a lot of the positioning, but you've got to be flexible to be positioned. Right?
Yes.
And purpose is a series of callings, right? So God called you to that flea market, then God called you to that school, right? So it's a series of callings. We just have to answer the call. And when you start to feel pain is when you overstay an assignment.
Oh, say that again.
When you start to feel pain is when you overstay an assignment. If God said, Dr. Marcy, come on up out of that flea market, and you're like, no, God, the rent cheap here. I can't afford to go nowhere else. I got to stay here. He's like, Dr. Marcy, come on up out of that flea market, right? And you keep staying there. Then things start shutting down. Next thing you know, the whole flea market shut down. Right? So we have to answer the call when God calls. And it's a series of callings that lead us on our purpose. It's not just one thing, like Dr. Nicole said.
And let me add to that too. So with what my sister just said, let it bless you. But if you are in that space of always sending God the voicemail, you can't be mad. The voicemail is full, right? Right? Because you're like, oh, I know what you want to talk about. I don't want to talk about that yet. So I'm sending you the voicemail. Oh, I know what you're calling about now, but I'm not ready to talk about that yet either. So I'm going to send you the voicemail. And then you sit there saying, God, show me what you want me to do. And because he's not human, like the three of us, like Crystal, Dr. Marcy, and myself, he doesn't say, now, do you see all the voicemails that you sent me to? I've been trying to tell you 17 calls ago. He just keeps pursuing you. So sometimes it's to stop and say, you know what? I know you've been trying to have some conversations with me, and I know you're not going to condemn me because I sent you to voicemail. And what I'm now going to do is sit and check the voicemail and say, what have you wanted to say? Because he's always trying to talk to us.
Always.
Every day.
And you know, there could be small things that you think are trivial. You know, it could be just something as simple as working somewhere for 2 months.
Yeah.
And you don't understand why you had to go that route. But God sent you that route to get to the next thing.
Well, you don't know who you're going to meet.
That's right.
You don't know who you're going to serve. You don't know how God is going to bring a word to you. So when we talk about sending them to voicemail, because it doesn't come in the package that, you know, so one of the things that we say, Dr. Marcy, is when we talk about grace, if you think grace comes in a purple box with a pink bow, you will miss the fact that grace is all around you because you're looking for the purple box with the pink bow. And God says, because he's sovereign and infinite, and his whole purpose is to care for us and to grow us and to make sure that we move in his highest and best purpose, grace is everywhere.
And it doesn't run out.
No. So you just have to be keen and open to the fact that it doesn't show up one way, so that this way you get all that he has planned for you versus, no, it's got to come this way. So I'm not even open anymore that it comes in so many different wonderful packages.
And, you know, I often think too, you know, the journey of being a woman and in the workforce and then trying to go into business or whatnot, time management is of essence. It's important. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know there are some listeners out there that say, well, what about, how am I going to do this? What time do I have to even step out and do something that's in my heart to do? I got to pay these bills. I don't have time.
That's where our yummy comes in, your ultimate, most meaningful yet, right? Because there's a lot of good things to do, but what's your yummy things to do? When you look at all those things on your to-do list, where are you on there? How often do you put yourself on the list and then move yourself to the next day? Move yourself to the next week because you've got all these things you're doing for everyone else. So often the women in our tribe are giving away all of the goodness that God has given them to share. And the money that you worry about, like when I was thinking about leaving Dr. Marcy, I'm like, I had a good job. Right? I had a good job. I used to call it a golden cage. It was beautiful. I got paid every 2 weeks on time. They brought me food. I had nice cars. I had the dream. And I thought, oh my God, how am I going to replace this? God, what's going to look like when I'm not getting that check every 2 weeks? And he said, oh, you so cute. You think that's your source. Resource, baby. I am the source. Yes. And just like I gave you that resource, I can give you another. I can give you more. But if you focus on the source, all the resources will come. We can make in a day what I could make in a year at that good job. Because what we learned to do was prioritize God's calling, answer the call, and trust that he owns the table.
Come
right?
on.
He owns the table. And sometimes you have to go through that list where you are pouring into everybody else. You're helping everybody else build their business, everybody else build their nonprofit, helping everybody else. Everything is before you. You're making sure your kids get it where they're supposed to go, all their extracurriculars, your husband, your sister, your friend, your parent. You're taking care of everybody else, and you're putting your purpose on the back burner. What God called you to do. And at the end of the day, our goal should be that when we go home to our Father, He say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You did everything that I called you to do. You spent all the energy, you served, you did what I called you to do." And He's not going to want to hear, "But I helped this one and I helped that one." But what did you do with what I gave you? Right. So we always say the women in our tribe are so brilliant that they have sexy excuses.
Woo!
Listen, I haven't heard that one. Sexy excuses.
They so sexy, they'll shut you down. That a look will shut you down.
Oh gosh.
She's so into, she's so skilled creating results, and she's so affirmed by what she can do that a look can let you be very clear that you don't have permission to hold her accountable to her highest and best for herself, right? So the beauty is being able to say, now, you got a lot of sexy excuses, sis, but we all get the same amount of time.
Yes, we do.
Where are you spending it? And yes, there is a difference between right and righteous, right? So there is a difference between good and yummy. Where are you spending it? And is it aligned with what God says you're supposed to be doing? Because everything is not mine to do, though I do a lot of things well. It's for me to be clear and say, now, God, is that mine to do? Because once I started asking, He'd be like, thank you for asking. No, it's not, but I can do it. He's like, but you asked me, was that yours
to do?
And I'm telling you no, because if you move out of the way, you'll see that I've got destiny helpers all over the place. Some of them are to help you, but you're always so busy.
So what I hear you say is stay in your lane.
We'll take that.
Because
we'll take that.
If you start wavering in and out of lanes, you may wreck.
But that's boundaries, right? That's
boundaries. Yes.
That's boundary work. We talk about the difference between boundaries and barriers. You don't want barriers to keep people out. It keeps the good out and the bad. So you're thinking it's just keeping the bad out. The good is on the other side too. So we say boundaries. Have those healthy boundaries that keeps you in your potential for the yummy, so that you can serve in humility and excellence, but you can do what God's called you to do. Because at the end of the day, Dr. Marcy, what we're clear about, Crystal and I, is that He's calling us to serve, and the people He's assigned to us, they're waiting for us to show up.
I always say, you have the solution to somebody's issue. And if you fail to do your call and your purpose, you holding something up and someone up. And so I've always thought, I don't want that on my hands, Lord. I need to be in position, no matter what that position looks like. I need to be in position to help. We're all destiny helpers at some point. So if I'm not in position, I'm holding up someone's destiny. And the same for you, audience out there that's listening. What are you holding up?
And what are you allowing to hold you up?
Right.
And who's waiting for you to show up?
Well, yeah. Now, see, y'all, listen.
Especially, can we put some extra sauce on that?
Go ahead and put some sauce on it.
When you think that you're stuck, but you ain't stuck, you just refusing to move. You think you're stuck, but you don't have any evidence that you're stuck. You're just refusing to move. So the blessing in that is if you now start to move, and like Crystal said at the beginning, come. If when you hear come, your feet start moving, your mind starts moving, your heart is in line and aligned with that command, you can't lose.
You can't. And I've said so many times, and I can only speak from my own experience, there is joy when you're in that area that God told you to be in. No matter what's going on around you, the walls can be crushing around you, but you will have this peace and joy that cannot be explained when you're in your purpose area. So our goal here today is to get whoever's listening to the right place. And these two beautiful ladies can help you get there.
Yes.
They can help you get there. Now, let me ask you, you specialize in coaching and mentoring women, but do men come your way too sometimes for that?
They sure do. We have a business that works with a lot of professional male leaders in corporate America and in industry to help them maximize their leadership and move to their next. And we have men that come to us on the side where we work with a lot of women, and they'll say often, what you're sharing with my wife, I need, or what you're doing, I know I have a group of men that need. So it is now becoming a conversation of how do we get to God's highest and best for us, male or female, and where can we get our tools and get some of our tools that need to be sharpened so that we can show up the way we need to show up for legacy.
Yes. That is it. That is it. Ladies, let me tell you something. I could go on and on with this conversation because it is so valuable, I tell you. But can you tell the audience a little bit about how they can get connected with what you're doing?
Absolutely. So I can tell you about something that's happening that's about to be just amazing.
Okay.
Our Yummy podcast, what God gave us was just so God. It is launching on October 3rd.
October 3rd.
Yummy podcast, Tuesday, October 3rd. You want to make sure that if you are a YouTuber, you watch us on YouTube so that you can see and hear the podcast. And if you're like, well, I don't really watch podcasts, I listen, we're like, absolutely. We want you to listen to us on iHeartRadio and anywhere else that you listen to your podcast. It's called Yummy Podcast. Yummy is an acronym for Your Ultimate Most Meaningful Yet. That is going to tap you into exactly what we're doing. And if you are a woman out there who has been saying to yourself, I know that I'm grateful and I know that God has blessed me, but I know that there's more. And I need a new circle of friends. I need to be able to have the support to move to my next level. Or I've got some things that have been holding me back because my wattage, my bulb is a 200 watt bulb. And I know I've only been at 100 watts. WomanUnlimitedLive.com is for you. That is our 4-hour masterclass. We do it on Saturdays, one Saturday a month. It is our opportunity to come together with you to confirm some of what God has been saying to you so that you can move, to help you get aligned so that you can move, to help you move in a way that is accelerated, because we teach you our yummy method. We teach you how to use it. And it is so transformational. It'll be one of the best 4 hours you have ever spent. womanunlimitedlive.com.
Did you hear that, audience?
And it's free.
Okay. Listen here.
It's free. Now,
It's
Dr.
free
Marcy,
knowledge.
let me tell you why we did it for free. Because we kept hearing from people, Black women especially, do not invest in themselves. They invest in their nieces, their nephews, their children, their husband, their man, their car, their house. They don't invest in themselves. So we said, well, we come against that because that's a label. But you know what? We're going to make it free because we believe all she needs to do is to get in the room to then understand, God, this is what I've been praying for.
Now, both of you have authored books that could help as well. So can you talk a little bit about those? Tell the audience the title and how they can secure a book.
Absolutely. My book is Hard Workers Work Hard and Networkers Move Up. It is available on Amazon, and I really share some secrets in there, Dr. Marcy, to help people who are moving up in corporate America or looking to grow in business, helping them understand the importance of connections, the importance of potential over hard work. Because if you're like me and you were taught, especially as a Black woman or as a Black man, you got to work twice as hard to get half. Right? We end up showing up in corporate America as workhorses. We're the hardest working people but no potential for growth. Leadership is not looking at us and tapping us on the shoulder for growth because we've been taught to keep our head down, our nose clean, hard, work that job for 40 years, get a retirement and a 401k. That is not, I repeat, that is not the formula for success.
Not the formula.
It is not the formula for success. So my book is about learning how to change your trajectory and accelerate your career through connection and understanding the power of potential when you get in community with people who can speak for you when you are not in the room.
And she said, speak for you.
Yeah. Those sponsors are amazing. I wrote a book called A Woman's True Purpose, Live Like You Matter. And I wrote it because I was at a place of transition where I had finally moved out of my own way and started to recognize, why was I in my own way? What did I do? What were the patterns that helped me to stay in my own way? What were my challenges with vulnerability? And how did I get there? And what did I need to do to shift? Because so many things are self-inflicted once they've been inflicted. So it's not that people don't do mean things or hard things or trauma and drama. And it's not that those things are not true and real. But once those things happen, do we then pick up that positioning and then do it to ourselves? So what I was able to do was help women work on the inside so that they could show up at that job that Crystal is talking about. And instead of sabotaging themselves, they could remove that obstacle. Because often we think it's everybody that's sabotaging us. And we don't recognize the first saboteur is often the one in the mirror. It's often the one that's always showing up and has the most access to you every single day. So being able to help women recognize that sometimes we're living like we don't matter. And we learned it.
It's a learned behavior.
So now we got to unlearn, reposition, shift so that the way we move and have our being speaks to a different understanding of worth and a different understanding of calling and a different understanding of what we're supposed to do to live in peace, not pieces.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, ladies, there's something that I ask everyone to do. So I'm going to give you a moment to think, but can you leave the audience with a point to ponder? If you had to give them something to think about, what would that be?
Mine would be, who are you without all the labels? If you're not wife, employee, entrepreneur, mom, sister, daughter, who are you without all of the labels?
Who are you? My.
What comes to mind, I don't know if I could say it on your show, but
you can say, honey, this is raw and unedited.
So the question is, are your feet on the ground? Are your feet on the ground? Because one thing that I know for sure, you can't move fast kicking your own ass. So when you think about condemning yourself and putting your foot, one of your feet on your own behind, didn't do what you should have done. See, you always making these bad decisions. See, that's why God ain't really down for you, because he blessing her. Look at what he doing for you. Put your feet on the ground and recognize you need you, sis.
Yes.
Bruh, you need you.
Are your feet on the ground?
Feet on the ground. So when you get tempted, because we all get tempted to pick that one foot up and kick our own behind, and then we're wondering why we're not moving. Your feet both got to be on the ground because you need you. You need you.
I love it. You know, this has been an enlightening and enriching discussion, and I am so thankful that you have given some of your time today to talk to the global audience about something that is much needed.
Thank you, Dr. Marcy.
Building others up. If we just continue to do that as a community, building each other up, how much further will we be?
I love that.
How much further will we be? That's my point to ponder. Are we building each other up? Are we doing that? And so, ladies, I know, did you want to leave an email or anything? I know Dr. LaBeach, you're on, put a ring on it every week, right?
I used to be. I did season 1 through 3 on Put a Ring on It, but now they can find us on our Yummy podcast. They can find us on Woman Unlimited Live. And if you just want to know what these two sisters are doing, go to Crystal and drnicole.com.
There you go.
Everything you need to know is going to be right there.
Crystal and Nicole.com.
Dr. Nicole.
DrNicole.com.
All right. Now listen, audience, as I say every week, if you would like to be a part of a discussion with me that can inspire others, all you have to do is send me an email at drmarcysconnections@gmail.com. No, drmarcyts@gmail.com, or go to Dr. Marcy's Connections, Or you can join a group on Facebook, the Connecting Point for Creators group. It's just a group of creators who inspire each other, who network, and who sharpens each other. And it's a point of inspiration throughout the week to help us keep going. If that sounds like something you would like to join, just send an invite to join on Facebook, and we would love to have you. This show airs on Tuesday nights on Instagram TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. What else is there out there? All of the social media platforms. And you can get it on Wednesday nights at KBCN TV, Spotify, and Anchor. All that I ask you to do is like and share so that others may be inspired through these conversations. Ladies, thank you again. God's blessings on all that you're doing. The best is here. Yes. I'm not going to even say yet to come. It's here.
It's here.
It's here. Yes.
Thank you.
And audience, until we meet again, peace and blessings. Bye-bye.